Yeah, we're live. Let's go. Modern Relics Podcast. I'm Angel. He's Lucky. Welcome back. What's good in the hood, man?
Oh, I am under the weather, but I'm okay. Like it's just chest and kind of nasal. So I apologize for any sniffing or
just neti pot and hot tea time.
Yeah, my wife's got me on some hippie stuff that's really good for me.
That's great. That sounds great. Some hippie stuff that's really good for me.
Yeah. I don't know what it's in it. I have newt and stuff like that, but
I make this weird drink that I have told myself it helps me when I'm feeling like I have a cold. I really don't know if it does help or not. It's like a lot of hot water with honey and like a ridiculous amount of cayenne pepper and lemon in it and a whole bunch of stuff. Like I even
throw a little apple cider vinegar in there, and that's actually really good.
That's what I was just gonna say. I pour a bunch of apple cider vinegar. It tastes like hell. But I'm just like, all right, down the hatch. And then in a weird twist of fate, man, like it's back up to 106 today. Like,
dang.
I was really enjoying the 90-degree weather. I was like, cool, it's fall time. Nope. It came back. It's like partly cloudy as well, and it's still hot. So
we're getting third summer here right now too. Like it jumped up into the upper 90s. Where we were for the last, the week I got back, it was like the 60s and 70s, and I was wearing a hoodie.
Yeah.
And it was wild. And so then it jumped back up, and now we're still in third summer, how Idaho does it.
Yeah, dude.
So, yeah. Outside of that, I've had a fairly decent week. I've been like slammed because I overbooked myself with a whole bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I flew back Monday, and so I got in late Monday night, and then Tuesday I had an appointment, a tattoo appointment, and then had the pod, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday I was jam-packed. And then Sunday I agreed, for whatever reason, I know the reason. I did it as a favor, but I agreed to tattoo at a wedding.
Yeah, I've been meaning to hear about this.
And I did it as a favor to a friend, but by Saturday night I wasn't feeling good, and I was like, but I've already committed to this. I got to do it. So I just kind of, NyQuil'd up and a bunch of Aleve and just went and did it, and drink a bunch of the hippie tea and went up there, and it was from 5, and normally when you do these kind of events, it's just kind of a novelty.
Yeah.
And like 85 to 90% of the people who go are like, oh, it's cool, but I don't want one. I'll never get one. So I end up sitting around eating food a lot and doing like, five of these things, or 8 of them.
Sometimes you got to just freestyle munch. Yeah.
Right. So I ended up being there until 1 a.m. And I ended up doing 17 tattoos and did not do like another 20 that ended up getting too drunk or left or whatever, because they just didn't get to the list, didn't get to them. And it was insane. Aaron came with me. It was up in Spirit Lake.
Yeah.
And it was this wedding venue up there, really nice wedding venue, and they put me in the bridal shower quarters because they were done with it for the most part, right? And I just kind of sectioned off a corner.
Timing is everything on that location, but
for sure.
Yeah.
And so they put me off into the corner, and it was fine. It was a good little space. But man, I wasn't even done setting up. The ceremony was at 4:30, and by 4:45, like, it was done and over, and the place was flooding full of people putting their names on a list. And I started to kind of panic. Fortunately, Aaron was there, but I was like, oh no, like, this list just turned into 2 pages in the matter of like a 15-20 minute span. And I was like, oh, this is going to be balls to the wall. I've just got to.
Did you have a set flash list of like, here are the 20 tattoos I'll do today, and that's all I'm doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was 10 pieces. They were all kind of set up, and also the bride and the groom's dad came down to approve them all. So we had those there, and it was 10 different ones, and I had a bunch of different sizes already set up. But man, just like in any other, and I knew it, I called it too. I was like, look, all of these are designed for this wedding. However, I know women, and what's going to end up happening is every single girl that comes through this line is going to want her little altercation.
A modification to it, yeah.
Yeah, modification, alteration, right? And I'm like, and every single one of them did. They all wanted one little thing. Oh, can we do this, but without that? Can we do this, and can I add this? And it became nightmares. The dudes were just like, I want that one. Put it on me.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty dumb. But overall, and they were all wasted.
Yikes.
So I was just tattooing nothing. So all these people got nice, little simple designs with wiggly lines all over them because everyone's like running into my table and like just like jerking around on the table and like, trying to talk to everybody. And
please
I'm like,
tell me somebody filmed this.
Oh, Aaron got a little bit of footage, but
beautiful.
And then we took pictures of everybody. But yeah, it was like tattooing in a bar, in a like seedy bar in yeah, it was just weird. But ultimately,
the sad thing is I might know people that were at that wedding because I spent a little time going to high school up in those parts.
It's possible.
Yeah. It sounds like some stuff that would happen up there.
Yeah, for sure. And but yeah, ultimately, I mean, it was profitable, and the whole point of it was because they all tipped.
Nice.
They drunk tipped me, and it was great. But the whole point of it was for Pastor Jason, who's been on our show, his son Ian. So apparently they had tried numerous other tattoo artists to come and do this, and they either said no or wanted some like insane fee.
Right.
And so Ian, who doesn't really even know either side of the party, but his girlfriend worked with the bride at some point at like one of the stores here in town, and North 40, I think, and became really good friends. And so Ian, after talking to them, goes, hey, I might know a guy who might be able to help you out with this. I'll ask him. And I've taken a shine to Ian because he's been kind of in a shell for a while, and he's coming out of his shell, and it's been great to watch. And so I was like, I'm going to do it for Ian. I'm going to make Ian the coolest guy here who got this all planned and orchestrated. And so he was kind of the hero of the day. And so that's why I did it, was to give Ian some cool points that he was the one that pulled it off when no one else could.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's been it was a wild ride. We got home at like almost 2 a.m. And then yeah, Monday I had to kind of get up and do all of the stuff I hadn't been able to get to during the week, all the bank stuff and all the stuff at the shop and everything, and go grocery shopping and all these things.
Yeah.
So today I was like, oh no, I've got to go and tattoo my nephew. I got to go. And fortunately, everyone canceled on me, and I got to hang out and not do anything today. So it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, my last week was a blur. So I had a minor birthday Monday, and I flew out Friday morning. So I was in a cab at 4:10 a.m., wheels up at 6 a.m. I was already working on the airplane before I landed.
I was sleeping soundly, by the way, when you were doing that.
Yep. Took a small break to reset up for work, to log back in and keep working. And then Saturday had a cool barbecue with some friends, which was really fun. It was super fun, but it was like really short. It was pretty far away from the city, and it rained off and on. It stayed mostly dry, but in the evening it just pounded rain. And then Sunday was a mild day. Got to like chill for most of the day. Monday I'm back at work. And people
on your actual birthday.
Yeah, people know that I'm there, so my calendar's just filling up like all day long. Go to dinner Monday night. Tuesday I'm back at work. I get 3/4 of the way through the day. And I left halfway between the start and end point of my last meeting to get back into a car to get back to the airport to fly home. So it felt like one long day, you know what I mean? Where it was just like non-stop action, top to bottom. And then got home, and it's been a stark change of pace, which is kind of nice. Like to decompress a little bit. So yeah, other than that,
where did you go to dinner for your birthday?
I went to a place called Jack's in West Seattle. And it's funny because I was looking at the prices for their tomahawk steaks, and it suggests that it serves 2, which is probably apt. But I think the plated cost was $175. And I was like, I could make 6 of these at the house for that price.
Yeah.
So like
wild.
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable. And then obviously I took a whole collage of how expensive things are and the weather and all my usual pissy pantsiness when I'm up there. But it was amazing to see some of my buddies. I really wish that they had the ability to relocate where we could hang out in person more often than just flying up there and stuff. But as an added bonus, because I started a new role over where I work at Redacted, and my boss found out that I was, because my whole team is remote, and my boss found out I was in Seattle on my birthday. And she's like, "You're at the office on your birthday?" And I was like, "Yep." She's like, "That sucks. There's a holiday weekend coming up next week. Take like a couple of days off and enjoy yourself." So I was off yesterday, and that's when I realized, like, oh yeah, it's a holiday on Monday. So I work today, I work tomorrow, and then I'm off Thursday, Friday, and the weekend, which is nice. So it's going to be a very short week for me. And I was hoping to have my concealed carry permit done this weekend. I had that scheduled, which was a class I had booked out on Saturday. And the one piece of information they didn't get from me was my phone number. So I got to the class, and there's a Angel, call this number. So I call the number, and they're like, "Yeah, we have COVID, so we have to cancel the class." Damn it. So that threw kind of the whole weekend in a bit of an array, because I had to pull everything back a whole day because I had shit planned Sunday and shit planned Monday. So it's kind of been go for the last couple of weeks, but it is good to be home, even though it crawled back up to 106 down here. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, whew, it's a lot.
Well, yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Too much in the week.
Well, I hope the cool points were worth it, and this Ian guy is like your bestest, fan going forward forever now. Be like, you don't know what this is like when drunk people are banging into the table all the time and everyone's squirming around and wriggling. Come on, man.
Yeah. No, it was fine. Like, I've been doing this long enough that this kind of stuff just kind of, you get used to it. But
yeah,
I don't do these type of events
for good reason.
For good reason, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So I got through it.
Well, and hopefully you made new clients along the way too. There's always
actually
that as
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a huge bonus, is that everybody's going to come to me now. So, because they were all impressed, and yeah, I'm very happy.
Nice.
I also have apparently another paycheck coming because they set up a Venmo for me.
Oh,
so
yeah,
whatever I actually didn't make in cash tips, apparently I've got a Venmo account going.
Wow, that's incredible.
So, I don't know. We shall see.
You should give me the sign in for that. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know it.
You're like, I don't even know where this money is at right now.
Yeah. They set it up and said they would give me cash. So I was like, all right, we'll see.
Well, we got some news around the horn.
Yeah, we do.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about was you had mentioned on our I think it was our last pod, while you were driving, you ran into Donald Trump's motorcade.
I did.
In the Las Vegas, Nevada area. Well, I figured out what he was doing here. He was doing a podcast spot for about 1 hour with Sean Ryan. And Sean Ryan kind of came out of nowhere and then blew up over the last few years. He's a former Navy SEAL. He has very raw conversational content about, you know, the military community with community members, what from all branches, from all eras, all kinds of stuff. And through time, because his shows are very long, it's like sometimes 3 hours, 4 hours long. Through time, he's kind of like stopped the bro-ness of like commiserating around life inside that community, and then moving more toward trying to figure himself out in the mental health aspect of like recovering from all the exposure. Because this guy was a SEAL, and then he was a CIA contractor after that for a good long while, and he's seen and done a bunch of different stuff. And then it kind of moved into the self-help stuff, like, you know, trying, you know, homeopathic medicine stuff, trying to figure out mood swing stuff, cutting out caffeine, trying microdosing. And then over the last couple of years, he's worked his way into salvation. And so now the tone of all of this is completely different, but he's still extremely honest. He's very quiet and lets people talk. And he's very thorough. Like, let's start with where you were born and how you were raised all the way to where we're at today kind of stuff, and lets them kind of guide the conversation, which is really cool. So he was talking to Donald Trump, and it was mostly from the perspective of, hey, let's clear some stuff up about things that you said or didn't say about the military personnel and this and that, and the whatever that phrase was, the jokers and clowns or whatever the fuck the media was saying Donald Trump said about the servicemen and women. So one of the things that popped up that I saw in a clip of that while they were doing this podcast spot was in Trump Tower on the Strip in Las Vegas. And so that's where he was either going to or from when you ran into him.
He was coming from there.
Yeah.
So he was on his way to from that interview to a restaurant, Mexican restaurant, to talk to a bunch of people about like the no tax on tips thing.
And then it was off to like probably a business or municipal airport to fly down to Arizona later that day for a speaking engagement, I believe, right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. So during that, a clip came out, and it was part of that conversation with Sean Ryan and Donald Trump about Elon Musk, and Trump saying he would put him on the cabinet. And I thought that was like pretty fascinating because like Elon, very quirky and strange guy. I think we can all admit that, but definitely says what he means and means what he says, and is very no bullshit. And I think the Elon that we've seen probably over the last 24 months, his tolerance continues to dwindle for the media bullshit to where it's almost like prickly in a way, which I think the media loves. I think they love it because it's just more things they can shit on him for as he starts to kind of change his tone on the political landscape. Like, hey man, I've always been kind of a left guy because it stood for freedom of speech and all, you know, this and that. And that's not at all what I'm seeing. And then we've seen quite a few interviews where he's come out and talked about his children and the thing, you know, the brainwashing that they've gone through, and the, you know, self-identification and the puberty blocker medication and all the things that he didn't fully understand, I think, when he was participating in it, but is now living through these things.
Right.
And I think that would be fucking awesome to put him, to be honest, like, okay, we've got a guy that really does understand both sides of the political aisle, sort of the traditional elements of both, where he used to be kind of on the far left side of things, and now kind of moving more right of moderate, where the new Republican Party sort of is. And I think it would be fantastic as a guy that's tired of the trimming the fat, or tired of the fat that he wants to trim, even in the companies that he's bought. Twitter's a perfect example of this. I think it'd be awesome to have him on a cabinet spot someplace. My question to you would be, A, is that cool? B, what would you have him do if you were the Donald and won the presidency? And what do you think he'd be able to accomplish in 4 years, given the track record of how fast he's been able to move through his own businesses, Tesla, SpaceX? I think PayPal is where he came from, if I remember right. And now Twitter or X.
Well, first and foremost, I don't think there's a single individual in history that has put more money where his mouth was.
Yep. And
that has swung a bigger sword in defense of free speech advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, him and RFK Jr. are, locked arms in that category, which is great for America if Trump brings both those guys on there. As far as like where I would put him, and yes, I think it's rad. I would love to have Elon Musk up there. I mean, I don't see eye to eye on everything, but
Same.
I can't.
Yeah.
The only person I could ever put in that place, I don't see eye to eye with Trump on everything. Obviously.
I don't think you and I see eye to eye on everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but the reality is that even men who I marginally agree with, as long as there's nothing that is so egregious that I can't abide them on principles,
right?
Go, hey, look, like this is a line in the sand and you've crossed it, and I don't care how much we agree on other things. Like this is a fundamental that we stray from. And so with him in particular, I think that men like him can be willingly used, to do great things and to do good things. And I think that if it were up to me, I would put him in charge of the FCC. I would put him in charge of some type of communications board. I would put him in charge of the oversight committee for any media outlets. I would put him. There's so many places I would want.
I might not on the media outlets part, but everything else I agree. Principally because he owns X.
That sword. Yeah, to swing that sword in a way that will tether, at least, or not even tether, but like, we'll put a stop to what we've seen in the last decade, of how the media lies and covers for themselves. And, I think he's a good guy to put into a position to be able to do that. But I would love to see that. As far as technology stuff goes, I don't know. I don't know if I don't want him in charge of the EPA. I don't want him in charge of pushing forth electric cars. There's certain areas I don't want him in, such as
I would keep him as far away from Space Force as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's just me.
So, yeah. So there's a lot that I think he should be doing, but it's all in the realm of basically establishing First Amendment protocols in whatever capacity, whatever position that puts him in, just keeping him kind of at the helm of making sure that First Amendment protocols are protected.
Yeah.
And as far as, I think almost like he could also be hand in hand with RFK on vaccines. And I don't know if I want him near vaccines, though. I think he's pretty pro-vaccine, if I'm not mistaken. But he didn't make all of his workers get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. No, I think it would be an interesting move. I wouldn't give him too much to do, but I give him just the right things to do.
Yeah.
And I think it has everything to do with First Amendment protections in whatever seat that puts him in. But,
yeah, I think I'm with you there. Like I worried, with appointments that this would be a massive overcorrection, like on conservative politics countrywide. But with the amount of crazy that I've seen come out in the last 2.5, 3 years from the left, I kind of think it's not strong enough. Like,
Right.
I think we would need some pretty powerful voices. I just don't like seeing that policies that are enacted are instantly undone. You know, it really takes the sting out of how much effort and money goes into these things from the American taxpayer. But I'm with you. I think I'm with you. I think it'd be fucking awesome.
If not anything else, it'll make for great memes and frenzied journalists.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be fun to watch, if not anything else. And at this point, we're so far down the road of like constructive building within a federal government system.
Yeah.
That like it's either we're gonna kind of strip it down and build it back up the way it was supposed to be and do it properly, which I become less and less I just don't believe we have the integrity in man in any one individual or group of individuals anymore that's even possible. So I say fight weird instead of fight weird. Go at it weird. Let's make a clown show. Let's and yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be fun. I'm hoping that that's what we get to see, but I don't know if that's the case.
I agree with you. I'm looking at the moment while you're talking about. There was something else that was kind of attached to this story a little bit that came out from Dan Crenshaw. And I don't have it. So I'll circle back on that if it pops back up. But yeah, I think we do need some serious course correction. And what I was looking for was basically I think it was the New York Times put out something about how the Constitution might just be the wrong document to found America on, and how poison and toxic it is. And now they're just attacking the root that they can't seem to, litigate away through all the branches of government and stuff. And it's like, well, that's pretty overt, but here we go. Let's start attacking that. So, anyway, it was a play on the free speech piece, and I lost the note. So I apologize for that. Moving on, though.
Yeah.
Former chief of staff for New York Governor Kathy Hochul, I hope I pronounced that right, Hochul, arrested for acting as an agent to the Chinese Communist government. What say you there? What happened?
This just keeps happening, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Eric Swalwell and they're all in Dianne Feinstein. And man, this just keeps happening where we just keep finding Chinese spies attached to governors and senators and everything. I mean, it's just remarkable how they're just so easily let in. Speaking, dovetailing off of what you just said about like attacking the Constitution. I mean, it is literally due to a Marxist, communism and they just don't see the world the same. But we are opening the gates for every single foreign entity to come in and take notes from all of our elected officials because they're either that stupid, which I don't think, or it is being allowed. Now, it's being allowed
and it's being buried under DEI.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what else is, but my question is why did the FBI arrest her?
Right.
Like, that doesn't, what did she outlive her usefulness? And so, or she was being switched out, or but why allow the public to know that yet another Chinese spy was working for our government? I mean, they literally have arrested dozens of Chinese spies within the college framework of laboratory work for viral studies. And, then throughout the entirety of state, federal, and, local government, it's insane. It's insane.
Well, this is what AP says about it. Former aide to not one but two New York governors was charged Tuesday with acting as an illegal agent of the Chinese government who used her state positions to subtly advance Beijing's agenda in exchange for financial benefits worth millions of dollars. Linda Sun, who held numerous posts in the New York state government, including Deputy Chief of Staff for Governor Kathy Hochul and Deputy Diversity Officer for former Governor Andrew Cuomo, was arrested Tuesday morning along with her husband. Chris Hu at their home for $4 million home on Long Island. Federal prosecutors said Sun, at the request of Chinese officials, blocked representatives of the Taiwanese government from having access to the governor's office, shaped New York governmental messaging to align with the priorities of the Chinese government, among other things. In return, her husband got help for his business activities in China, a financial boost that prosecutors said allowed the couple to buy their multi-million-dollar property in Manhasset, I think that's a typo, Manhasset, maybe that's a real place, New York, a condominium in Hawaii for also $1.9 million, and luxury cars, including a 2024 Ferrari, the indictment said. So
Not bad for an assistant.
Yeah, I think it's likely the dollars were too hard to ignore coming from this person. And that's probably why they picked her up, because it's like, we've got to investigate this.
She flew too close to the sun.
Yeah. Or
what ended up happening.
I mean, and her name is Sun, so there you go. But yeah, I'd imagine it's like people would be like, what the hell? Where's all this coming from? But Sun also received smaller gifts, the indictment said, including tickets to performances by visiting Chinese orchestra and ballet groups, Nanjing-style salted ducks, and they were prepared by a personal chef of the Chinese government official and delivered to Sun's parents' home in New York. If true, the allegations show that Chinese authorities were able to gain influence at the highest levels of state government in New York for nearly a decade. As alleged, this is a quote, as alleged, while appearing to serve the people of New York as Deputy Chief of Staff within the New York State Executive Chamber, the defendant and her family, her husband, actually worked to further the interests of the Chinese government and the CCP. End quote. United States Attorney Breon Pierce, I'm having trouble with names today, said, using the acronym for the Chinese Communist Party, the illicit scheme enriched the defendant's family to the tune of millions of dollars. So that's what's up. She pleads not guilty. The story goes on. Last year, the Justice Department charged a pair of men with establishing a secret police station. These are people on, like, in her consulate. This story's huge. They've got a lot of documentation. I mean, there's like 5 pages
how old
of
is this girl?
I don't know. She looks not very old, though.
No, she looks like she's in her mid-20s.
But
I mean,
having a position like that for over a decade, I would imagine she's probably in her 30s.
She's gotta be. They might be using an old picture of her in this one that I'm looking at here, because there's just no way. It's like, you've been doing this for a decade.
That's wild.
Like you're, a couple of years out of high school, and but wow.
Yeah. That's a lot.
She just basically was dipping too much. She was taking too much money and doing too many. Like, she wasn't being careful with how she was being a spy, and so it ended up leaving a trail back that couldn't be ignored.
Yeah, I don't know much about spycraft myself, but what I do know, it seems like rule number 1 is low profile is the way.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Not living high on the hog like these people were. Like, oh my gosh.
It just goes to show you, man. It's very
Chinese ducks.
Right? Salted ducks?
Yeah. Salted ducks?
That doesn't happen for my family, I'll tell you that much right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One clue right there. That's the red flag, was the salted ducks.
I don't know how people don't vet this in government offices. That's the point that I'd like to point at, is how do you miss that? Like, where do you not vet these candidates where for at least 10 years this aid can, influence, likely embezzle, mismanage a ton of money, and further Chinese agenda, like preventing Taiwanese officials from seeing the elected officials in New York State. Like that's pretty savage, man. So I don't know. I don't know how these people don't vet them, especially for government offices. I thought there was a whole process behind that. Well, did I lose you? I think I lost him. His power might have gone out. Other news, though. Let's see if he pops back on. Wanted to talk a little bit about a headline that popped up from Kash Patel.
Oh, crap.
Yep, he's back.
I'm back. I don't know what happened.
We lost you.
Yeah.
Also, your camera's out again, but I'm sure you're working on that.
It's all right. I'm turning it back on.
All good. I was just telling people
there we are.
about the Kash Patel piece of this. He warns potential blackout attack on the power infrastructure during this election cycle. So you brought this story to me. I don't know if you dug really deeply into that or not ahead of the show, but where is this coming from? Like, does he have...
Well, Kash Patel has always been kind of like at the forefront of Intel coming in and out of, he's been with Devin Nunes, digging deep. He's a lawyer, and he is a high profile lawyer, and he's a military lawyer. And so, and he is a brilliant guy that actually has a lot of connections. And he was part of the Trump staff from 2016 on. He's one of the ones that helped exonerate or at least debunk all the Russiagate stuff.
Yep.
He is a big brain in the pool of big brains up there, and where he is saying this is that basically it's without question the intelligence agencies are like, if Trump starts to pull ahead, there will be an October surprise, which is kind of just the nomenclature for the, like, something that they're holding in the bag just in case, and they'll let it out of the bag if something happens, but they're thinking that it's going to be an infrastructure attack because of that. And
I was going to say, it's
not really looked into
highly specific guess from Kash Patel. That's why I was wondering about that.
Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me that he has specifics, because he tends to, and they tend to be right. So, but he was he on Sean Ryan? Is that what we were talking about?
No, Donald Trump was.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I thought Kash was on Sean Ryan too. Maybe that was.
He might have. I can look it up.
Because I think that's where this interview was a Sean Ryan interview. So, where he said that. But yeah, this is kind of one of his predictors of like, or warnings saying this is within the realm of possibility and we really need to pay attention to it. So, but,
it must have been, yeah. There's clips on Kash Patel from Sean Ryan as far as 5 hours ago. So joins me on Monday. Today. So that must have happened September 1st. Yes, 2 days ago, I think, is when that happened. So I haven't listened to that one yet. So
yeah. But yeah, it was it should be a fascinating interview. I have to go back and watch the Sean Ryan with Trump, but I did catch, not to steer us off track, but I did catch probably the most fascinating interview I've ever seen, and that was when Theo Vaughn interviewed Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And that was a wild hour. And it to me, it showed, it was really weird because there was some good questions in there. And he did ask some really good questions about pharmaceutical companies and things like that. But what was wild is how much Trump actually stayed on Theo's recovery journey.
Yeah.
And he was like really talking to him about that. And it really felt as if he cared. Like you're sitting there, like he shouldn't care about Theo Von. But there was so many zingers that made me laugh out loud because it's things that were being said in front of Donald Trump, a former sitting president, such as cocaine will turn you into an owl, homie. No one's ever said that to a president ever in history, and it made me laugh. But there was a weird respect even with his kind of like loose wording as it were that Theo Von is known for. That there was a reverence there and a respect there that you could tell that he actually was respecting the office, even if he was kind of shooting from the hip with some of his kind of normal Theo Von dialogue. But Trump took it in stride and with good humor, and he went through it and actually even if he didn't understand what Theo was saying, which is par for the course for anybody who's sat in a room with that guy, he took it in stride. He took it with good humor, and it really felt like he cared. And it was probably one of the most human interviews I think I've ever seen Trump do. And so highly recommend that one. I highly recommend a more serious tone one with Sean Ryan. And back to back those things and just really get a feel for what people are misconstruing as an incredibly evil man.
Yeah. Well stated. Well stated. And I'm going to be looking forward to the Kash Patel one now that I know it's online. I'm trying to step on the gas pedal. I know you're suffering over there. You muted yourself to cough.
Yeah, I needed to cough, but you're good.
So one thing you sent me, and this is, have I not been on this since we started this show? Feels like over a year ago or what? You sent me a reel via Instagram. It came from TikTok. A girl asking her Alexa Dot in her house. I think that's what they're called. Maybe whatever the thing you, hey Alexa, and get a result. Yeah. She asked two questions. The first question was, why should I vote for Donald Trump? And the response from Alexa, and I'll paraphrase, was, I'm not allowed to give out information on political candidates. Like, full stop. I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's against my programming. And then her very next question is, why should I vote for Kamala Harris? And Alexa spit out all these pro Kamala facts and how great she's been and what a decorated career she's had and all this stuff.
The fact that she's, the first, female of color and that she's the first female vice president and what a wonderful human being she is. And like, just laid it on thick.
Like, I mean, it was
written
like
by the Harris administration.
Yeah,
itself,
it was a full paragraph of pro Kamala Harris things. And she just kind of looked at the camera like, well, there it is in living color and stuff. And I've been on this forever. Like, what do you train artificial intelligence on? And if the answer is the fucking internet, we've got problems.
We do have problems,
and
especially if the internet is being censored.
Late spring, we get Microsoft Copilot shoved down every one of our operating systems on Windows 10 or better, at least, and there's no way to remove it. And I went rounds with Microsoft on just that. Like, what do you mean I can't go to the registry and edit this out of the substructure of your operating system? I did not buy Windows 10 with AI on it, and if it was offered at that point, I would have waved my money in your face and said, I'll buy an operating system elsewhere. Google releases AI to hilarious results. We've covered that. The artificial intelligence quick response that comes back about like the ingredients and while smoking cigarettes, being pregnant's a good idea because it's training itself on Reddit and different parts of the internet where people have upvoted or there's a lot of internet traffic to. And it starts to build its learning cycles off of that. This is bananas. But if you're wondering about bias in the political sphere from big tech, that was a pretty stark video.
And it wasn't just that video.
Like, it reinforces what we've been saying for some time.
Right. So on Twitter, there's video after video after video of exactly this thing happening from the Gateway Pundit, from End Wokeness posted one. Bobby Blish posted one. DeAngelis posted one. William Bart posted one, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Like, there's so many of these videos of the exact same response system from Alexa, or any of these devices, any of these home spy devices, which I will never own one anyway. I know that this thing is already doing that. I get it, but I don't need, an Alexa in my house. But every single one of these has the same response system when it comes to anything politically related. It will refuse to give you anything but one very padded side of the story, and that's it. And so, I mean, think about the influence that has on people who have only lived within the generation of these devices, from toddler age on, being in their homes and being something that you can ask and it'll give you an answer that's correct. Like you and I lived, and people our age have lived when this technology didn't exist. So we're like, well, that isn't right. That doesn't make sense. But
Yep.
This is a nanny for a lot of households. Like every kid will walk through a house and just go, Alexa, turn on the stereo, or Alexa, I want to watch TV, or Alexa, I want to, and it's their nanny. And so the nanny's not going to lie to them. Alexa's not going to lie to them, And so what on earth are, the absolute controlling power that these tech companies have over the psyche and development of all of these kids who these devices are in every one of their houses? It is monstrous to think that their whole world is being steered in a direction without their control and without question. And it is a wild ride, and I refuse to have anything to do with one of these things. But
you want some more proof?
I don't know. Yeah, sure.
Cool. This came out August 27, and I copied it down but lost all of my notes in preparation for this pod. So I found it on pbs.org. This is the annotated version. This is a letter from Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, to Congress.
Yeah.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg says senior Biden administration officials pressured Facebook to censor some COVID-19 content during the pandemic and vowed the social media giant would push back if it faced such demands again. In a letter to Representative Jim Jordan, the Republican chair of the House Judiciary Committee, Zuckerberg alleges the officials, including those from the White House, quote, repeatedly pressured Facebook for months to take down certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire. The officials expressed a lot of frustration when the company didn't agree, he said in the letter, quote, I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it, end quote. The Zuckerberg wrote this letter dated August 26 and posted on the committee's Facebook page and to his account on X. This letter is the latest by Zuckerberg in efforts to target misinformation around the coronavirus pandemic during and after the 2020 presidential election, particularly as allegations have emerged that some posts were deleted or restricted wrongly. Quote, I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today, end quote. He said this without elaborating. Quote, we're ready to push back if something like this happens again, end quote. In response, the White House said in a statement, when confronted with the deadly pandemic, this administration encouraged responsible actions to protect public health and safety. Our position's been clear and consistent, and we believe tech companies and other private actors should take into account the effects their actions have on the American people while making independent choices about the information they choose to present. Experts warn this year's U.S. election could be swamped by misinformation on social media with the proliferation of artificial intelligence and other tools to produce false news stories and content that could mislead voters. Facebook, in early 2021, appended what Zuckerberg calls labels with credible information to posts about the COVID-19 vaccines. That's after it moved in April 2020, just as the virus had led to global shutdowns and radical changes in everyday life, to warn users who shared misinformation about COVID-19. Zuckerberg has tried to change his company's perception on the right, going on podcaster Joe Rogan's show in 22, complimenting Republican nominee Donald Trump's response to the assassination attempt as, quote, badass. Total misdirection in this story. He sent Monday's letter to the House Judiciary Committee, whose chairman Jordan is a longtime Trump ally. Read that letter. Like, if it's posted on his his X account. I encourage you guys to read it. I read it on Instagram. But yeah, hey, we're super sorry, but yeah, we totally didn't push back hard enough when we were pressured to censor information and take it down. This absolutely happened. This absolutely happened. And the misinformation spread being powered by AI is exactly what we're talking about going forward. So you've really got to listen in context. Like, you want to waste time listening to politicians on podcasts? No, nobody does, but you should. And the reason for that is because you get unfiltered, long form, in context answers to what they said, not cropped, clipped, little tiny bits and bytes where it just gets spun out of control with the big machine. And it's ridiculous that we have to put this much effort in it, but I really think the damage reveals the cost, and it's worth it. I really, really do.
So what do you think the change of heart was for him? Why do you think he switched gears on this? And also, is it even trustworthy?
Because if he and his advice, this is just me being an asshole. So, let me crunch down my tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
This is just me being an ass. I think Zuck and all of his advisors and everybody else may feel highly threatened about not walking back some of the shit they said and did this last election cycle if they fear that Trump's cabinet will regain the White House.
Fully agree. Yeah, I think
that's why I think it's I don't want to get hurt.
He's playing it safe is what he's doing.
Yep. Like, no. Because in that letter at the end of it, sorry to cut you off. In the letter at the end of it, him and his wife or whatever donated $400 million to the political left through their foundation, and he's like, we won't be doing that again either.
We call those Zuckerbucks. Actually, we got rid of them in Idaho. We wouldn't allow them to be used here.
Bananas.
But they did affect one election for sure. And then once we figured out where that money was coming from, Zuckerbucks were no longer through legislation are no longer allowed to be used in the state of Idaho. But I think you're right. I think it's a CYA situation. I think he's covering his ass.
Yep.
And I think that there isn't a true, change of heart there. In fact, I think his whole business is basically created and built around DEI. They'll revolt if he decides to allow what they deem as misinformation within the platforms that he owns, all the meta platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not a sincere man. He never has been. He is a puppet, but he fears retribution. That's it. Absolutely.
Yep. He's Meta's publicly traded. So imagine if he didn't get in front of this, and let's say Trump wins the White House and this starts to become exposed, like that, the commercial penalties alone would be savage. Especially if, we led the show with what if an Elon Musk type of character gets put in front of, a FCC type of commission. Because he owns X, I don't think it would be fair to put him in charge of anything social media related. But in terms of free speech, there would be wild credibility loss, punitive damages, commercial implications to their business. All the crookedness would come out. So I think he got in front of it as a cover your ass move, personally.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Yeah. PR wrote everything he said and said, "Here, Zuck, sign your name to this and send it to Congress. Jim Jordan's going to love reading it."
And it's going to take a lot more than this letter for me to trust the robot lizard man himself. He has created such a distrust through 2 decades of, how many people do I know personally who had their Facebook pages ripped away from them forever for saying the wrong thing in that time frame?
They're still doing it. They just lifted a streaming ban for 30 days on T-Rex Arms. I don't know if you watch any of these guys. They're a Christian-based firearms accessories company. They build like holsters and stuff like that. And Lucas Botkin is the CEO, and him and his brother kind of run their YouTube channel. They're wildly popular influencers in the gun space, and they're ferocious about getting involved in politics, you know, and Pro 2A and, you know, God and family first, and like ferocious people about it. And I mean, the very first stream they did at the end of the 30-day ban on Instagram was rebanned again for questionable content regarding firearms and the promotion of firearms. And guess who owns Instagram? Meta. Like,
well, and that's the thing,
I don't trust none of these fucking people, dude, at all.
Not at all. But like,
ever.
The reason why we had other, like, his actions and the way that they handled the stamping down of First Amendment rights and free speech, and tried to hide behind legalities of it, and tried to walk the line between being a publisher and being a platform and a publisher, and dipping one foot into either side, whichever one benefited them, and kicking everybody off. The reason why that we have things such as Telegram and Gab and
here's my mistrust, and we might not see eye to. You're right, by the way. You're right. We may not see eye to eye on this, but here's why I will never trust any of them. Right. Durov was just arrested in France. Pavel Durov, the CEO of Telegram, right? For sex trafficking, illicit activity, and promotion. Like, it's so gross behind the curtain of big tech everywhere you go, you know.
Well, his wasn't that he did any of those things.
No, it was complicit in the activities that were occurring.
Because he allowed it.
Yes.
It was happening on his platform, and they were just because of the fact that there's been a huge growth on Telegram, and that all of these people are actually talking political, you know, that they wanted to make they're going to go after all of them. Anyone that isn't Mark Zuckerberg, they're going to go after him. And so with this particular case, all of the stuff that was going on, like, because there's a lot of ugly stuff on Telegram.
There are.
Yeah. So, and the thing is that what really should be done is any of these social media companies should abide by, and no other. But I mean, is he an American citizen, or is he a French citizen?
Don't know.
Did he create Telegram in France? Does he have to abide by their code of standards?
I believe he would if he was extradited to France or arrested there, one or the other.
Then don't open up any social media companies in socialist countries.
Yep.
Open them up here where you have the freedoms, and then abide by the laws. So like we obviously have laws against child endangerment material of any kind. You know, so if that's on there, track the people down, arrest them, shut the account down, abide by legalities.
Yeah.
But don't go past that. But this, that's the problem, is that when they're not abiding by legalities is then where you start to get into the ugliness.
Yes. And for a moral standpoint, it should be noted that neither one of us would endorse any activities like that from any users. That's not at all what we're defending in this, but that should be stated. That said, to your point, if you're dumb enough to agree to terms of service for a social media platform to conduct illicit activities on, then you are opening yourself up for all kinds of investigative bodies that can use public access information to build a case against you. You deserve to go to jail for that, regardless if it's a Telegram or a Facebook or whatever. Like, you have to understand that. Which is why what you just said is accurate. 100%. Like, then don't open your platform under a country that, may give you killer tax breaks or whatever, but that will extradite you for being complicit in the illicit activities of other people
That
you had
has
no
ha-
idea about. If that's the case, we'll see what
that has
happens
hate
in this
speech
court case.
laws.
Yeah,
Like, don't open a place
Right.
for free speech when the place that you opened it up, which is the vast majority of Europe, has hate speech laws. You can't do it. Like,
yep.
you know, like you have to understand that that's the law of the land, and they will come after you. They will find a way. So do not open up a business there. Do not open up a free speech platform unless you're in an area that has the greatest free speech laws that you can find, whether that's the United States or wherever else, which I can't think of anywhere else that has better ones. But even ours are limited and shouldn't be. But that being said, don't open up a business in free speech business in France. Sorry, that's just dumb.
Yep.
And he probably thought he was going to, you know, push back enough to maybe they could change, you know, governmental policy on it in some regard through tech advancement.
It's a weird.
I can't.
It's a weird position because if on the one hand he knew about this and did nothing, like agnostic of whether it was France or not, that's bad behavior. Like we really got to get to the legalese in the books about how to deal with that. On the other hand,
I mean, it's going on Twitter and every other platform too, Facebook and all of it.
Yeah, if he had no idea, and this is a case that can be beat, provided that there are free speech laws that protect you from knowing about every user's activity at all times and blah, 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 then I would classify this the exact same way I would classify opening, how dumb it would be to open a lawsuit against Daniel Defense because somebody used one of their weapons in a shooting.
Right.
It's the same premise. It's just a different amendment that we're focusing on.
And let's not pretend that this wasn't, you know, they don't care if anybody else is doing this. In fact, most of the upper end government is probably doing a lot of this horrific stuff themselves. However, this had nothing to do with the content of what was going on his platform. It had everything to do with him.
Right.
Because of what he represented and what was going on his platform, not in regards to like the CP stuff and all the child endangerment and the sex trafficking stuff, but just regular free speech stuff. He was a threat and they had to take him out. And so they used the stuff that he wasn't paying attention to, which he should have been, as a weapon against him. And he should have cleaned it up and not given them that weapon. And said, hey, like, we have protocols to knock this stuff out. And as you can see, they're working. We have a hard time keeping up with it because it keeps popping up. But we do have a team. We have protocols. We have things that actually manage this stuff. And if that wasn't implemented within the structure of your platform, you kind of messed up a lot and got yourself into trouble for not at least creating a barrier there that kept them from legally being able to come after you for that kind of stuff. Now they just used it as a cudgel to just beat you to death with your own platform because they don't like you and they want to come after you. And so, you know, I don't know. Like, I know he's out now. I think he posted bond. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, he does a Julian Assange and tries to find another place to go for a while, you know. The
witch huntery is horrible, but even more horrible than that is what we're doing to each other on these platforms.
Oh yeah.
And that is reinforcing our original topic on why I don't trust any of them. I just don't. So anyway, on to lighter news. A couple things. I'm gonna try something out this year. It's my fantasy football draft is Wednesday. I've done my studying. What I'm not gonna do is watch football every Sunday this year. So if somebody gets hurt, I'm really going to have to stick to the script on checking the waiver wire and stuff because I'm going to try to fulfill my life in other ways. Maybe it won't work and I'll just watch football again, but we'll see. And I'm excited about the possibility of finding other things to do on Sunday, unless it's really boring and then starts to get cold and then I'll be watching football. So there's that. What I'm driving toward is you watched The Land of Bad. No one cares about my fantasy football endeavors. You watched Land of Bad, right? Is that a movie or a series?
It's a movie.
It's a movie. Talk to me.
Yeah, it was 2024 just came out not too long ago, and it was actually a recommendation from a friend up here, Zach, who him and I go back and forth with movie and TV show stuff all the time. He'll give me recommendations, I'll give him some, and we tend to agree on a lot of things. So he hit me up and just said, Land of Bad, watch it, you'll love it. And we do enjoy, like, one of the genres that him and I like kind of both enjoy are the Equalizer.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of like very simple plot line of just one dude just getting revenge and running through a whole group of people in a storyline to save somebody, possibly sacrificing themselves in the end. So those are typically the type of movies that we kind of talk about a lot, and other things too. But this one was not something that I expected, even though it's a really amazing action drama and thriller. And it stars Liam Hemsworth, the youngest of the Hemsworth three. Actually, the Luke Hemsworth, which is Chris Hemsworth's oldest brother, who is also an actor that a lot of people don't know about. He's actually in the movie too. And then Russell Crowe. And Russell Crowe plays an aged and bitter captain in the Air Force who is a drone operator from a base just outside of Las Vegas. And so and what is the setup of the movie is basically an ops team, tier 1 ops team for whatever military agency they combined, a Delta Force kind of situation. They get put on a mission to go into Southeast Asia because there's an asset there, a human being that they need to go rescue from an arms dealer in the middle of the jungle. So they go and they bring on Liam Hemsworth, who the whole team doesn't know. He's the new guy. And basically he's the comms guy who's specialized to work with this particular form of drone for drone strikes. And he's never done a helo drop. He's never done all sorts of stuff. And they're like, keep up, boy. You know, like, don't get us killed. And it is probably, you know, they get into it. Some bad things happen and that really mess up the situation, and they get separated. And it's a survival story in the jungle where Liam Hemsworth's character as the ops guy, or as the comms guy, is basically on the phone with Russell Crowe's character, and he's getting him through. Like, there's another Russell Crowe has a partner that she is very fond of him and as like kind of a father figure kind of in capacity, but it's her partner, and she's basically the eye in the sky, and Russell Crowe is the actual drone operator and communicator. And so they work as a team together, and they're keeping an eye on Liam Hemsworth as he's trying to survive this really bad situation. And it is brutal. There's some capture scenes, the fight scenes are really incredible, but it's probably one of the more realistic, like in the vein of 13 Hours. In the vein of that, where it's a very realistic ops movie where you feel like you're in it and you feel like they're using the right nomenclature and dialogue while they're operating. And everything feels pretty realistic, and it is keeps you at the edge of your seat, like you're grinding through every minute of this movie, just going, oh dude, every single minute. So I highly recommend it. I think it's right up your alley. I think that you would very much like this, and I would give it at least probably about an 8 megs. It was highly enjoyable. The ending was was really well done.
Where did you watch this? Like Netflix?
Netflix, yeah.
Okay.
You can find it on Netflix. Land of Bad. It was directed by William Eubank and written by Dan Ferrigio and William Eubank. And just really well put together. It's also got Milo Ventimiglia in it, who was like in that show Heroes.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that. And then a cast of other characters that were really good. So, but
8 megs.
Yeah, 8 megs. Highly recommend.
It's funny because while I don't have a review, I can give you the initial impressions. I'm 2 episodes past the beginning of a show on Prime called Terminal List with Chris Pratt, and it's also a military-based story.
Really good show.
In the first 2 episodes, and I'm tickled they're about an hour long, which is great. That's the right time for me. It's not a full movie, but it's not like a show with the redacted commercial spots where it's like, in a 39 to 42 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
But my initial impressions are that this feels like it's a pretty real, gritty story. It's savage. The first episode is unbelievably heartbreaking and weird. But as it goes on, like I'm at the point where we don't know if Chris Pratt's character is losing his mind or if he's conflating stuff because he's been very injured in his military career overseas and stuff. But it's sort of shaping up to be one guy, former Navy SEAL operator that's like now kind of against the world, trying to figure out what happened to not only his unit, but his family and all this other stuff. And we're at the point in this show where we don't know if he's responsible for some or all of this himself because his mind is really broken after some significant injuries. And he's all these conflated points. The flashbacks, we're not even sure, are those real or not? But it's a very gritty, unlike, I would imagine, Chris Pratt wanting to be a part of, let alone being the executive producer of. But turns out it is, and he is, and there we go. So now you've watched this whole first season, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's a season 2 out yet or not. I literally just clicked it on and went, this looks cool. But it's interesting, we're both like talking about a military-based like show, but it's very gritty. So
you're gonna love the rest of it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be one of your favorites.
Can't wait to get more involved there. What else? Do you got other stuff going on? I suppose I could go find our Gen Z Bible stories, but anything?
Well, I do want. Yeah, I mean, there's a new movie coming out that's getting panned by the critics, obviously, but it's getting like rave reviews from anybody who watches it because that's just the way these things work these days. But it's the new, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's the new Reagan movie with Dennis Quaid playing Ronald Reagan. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Yeah, so Dennis Quaid is playing Ronald Reagan in a kind of a biopic of Reagan, and it's got a pretty hefty cast, especially for a political movie that doesn't necessarily have a particular, like a very specific political slant to it where everybody would jump on board. But I mean, just right out of the gate, Dennis Quaid, who has now said he's going to be voting for Trump, and he said that on Piers Morgan's show, which is super wild that he would step out like that. And I think he's always been loosely kind of like that, but more independent than that. Penelope Ann Miller, who I haven't seen in a while, she's playing Nancy. Mina Savari, the old like 90s like teen movie Mina Savari, right? C. Thomas Howell is in it.
Oh wow.
John Voight, Kevin Sorbo, Leslie Ann Down, who was the mom from Everyone Loves Raymond.
So these are all the
Nick Searcy,
the Hollywood
Robert
folks
Dempsey.
that are conservative and don't get to do too many movies are all cast in this one.
Basically, yeah. Like it's all of them. Yeah. So it's pretty wild. But they're starting to.
Where is that? Also Netflix?
No, this is in the theaters.
Oh, it's in the theater. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
It's a feature movie.
Yeah, it's huge. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go check it out because it looks interesting. I'm
Nice.
not even that big of a fan of Reagan. Like,
Yeah.
there's some things that he did that I think were exceptional. However, he did some things that I wasn't super stoked on either. The Iran Contra stuff was wild. The fact that he's the president that brought in no fault divorce.
Yeah.
There's some other things. He wasn't super great on the Second Amendment, which was super weird. But he's elevated, and I think he was probably one of the first kind of, if you want to think conspiratorial, one of the first kind of special ring inside club kind of installed presidents, but I'm still very fascinated, and I want to see what this
is it out now or is it coming
there.
out?
Yeah.
Oh, it's out now. Okay.
Yeah, it's out in the theater. So I think actually there's a couple of organizations around here that are actually going to be. I'm watching the little video, and they had a picture of Gorbachev with the big wine stain on his head.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a couple of organizations that I think are going to be putting together group showings at the local movie theater here. So we might join some of that. But
nice. Yeah, I'll see if I can carve out some time to go check it out too. I'm nothing if not intrigued a little bit. So
well, maybe that'll be one of the, maybe while I'm down there on
the
next round, that we'll go see something if there isn't something better. I gotta go see the Alien movie before, which, by the way,
did you
October
know what I saw?
October I'm lining up all of the scary movies you'll never watch so I can review them in October again. But I'm making a checklist because a whole bunch have come out that look really good. But I'll be doing my scary movie October watch list. So
I love that for you.
Yeah.
I saw something hilarious today while doom scrolling on social media. There was completely a joke, like total meme, but there was a fake advertisement for a company that builds, the CPAP machine that people with sleep apnea have to put on, but it's a face hugger from Alien. Did you see this? It's like a little cover plate you could put on, so when you're sleeping on your back, it looks like there's a face hugger like from Alien just on your face the whole night.
Great.
I was like, that's hilarious.
That's great.
And it makes me grossed out just looking at it. But I meant to try and send that to you, and I got busy doing other things. But if I find it again, I'll send it to you. It's pretty funny.
Excellent. Well, why don't you go grab the Bible?
Yeah.
And then I will tell everyone about my new accommodations.
Let's do it
down there. So,
well, we're at chapter 21, anointing for burial in the Gospel by GENZ.
Right.
So that's where we're at. Good artwork as usual. Chapter 21, anointing for burial. Some days before Independency Day, Jesus was chilling with Simon, the canceled Karen, and the holy siblings Lazarus and Martha were there. This was the same Lazarus Jesus came in clutch for earlier. Now their sister Mary pulled up, and she was all in her feels, but she was tired of being for the streets and doing God dirty, so she washed Holy Bro's feet with her tears and hair, for it was a holy #GRWN. But Judas Iscariot was not going to let that slide and said, bruh, that perfume was worth a few stacks, and we could have gave it away for kindness content. And he got the other bros salty about it too. But he was capping hard, for he was major sus, and he often used to low-key steal their bread. Jesus saw that Judas was being out of pocket and said, nah, fam, not gonna lie, what she did was so based. You can post kindness content anytime, but she did it for the plot. On God, I tell you, whatever the gospel is shared on this story will be reposted in her honor. Whew.
Oh man, dude, dude, this book is
N-
my
Nick-
favorite book.
Next week, I just got a glimpse, is The Good Samaritan, and that's going to be solid, I feel.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yep.
so talk to us.
For
What are you
sure.
up to, brother?
So, although my trips down there have been pleasant, they haven't been really all that profitable.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of hard to kind of balance whether or not I should keep coming down.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, location. So, although the shop I was at and the owner of the shop are awesome, both the place itself is beautiful and the guy is a great guy. It just wasn't where I needed to be location wise for the foot traffic that I need in order to financially make it worth it for me to go down there. So, I was doing some hunting and was kind of pitching my portfolio around as much as I could, and I ended up not going to this one place, but when I got back, one of the other places that I'd gone had shopped me around to some of the other shop owners and said, "Hey, I got this guy. He's really good. We'd hire him full time, but he's not moving here. He just wants a guest spot. And we don't have the space. So we would love, we thought you might like him." And so I ended up getting an old buddy of mine who used to do see each other. Convention buddies is what we are. So we see each other at conventions all the time for, I don't know, a decade or more. And his name's Caps. And he owns Mad Monk Tattoo in the Meadows Mall down there by the Strat in off the Strip in Vegas. And so and he's like, "Hey man, I've already got a guy who already kind of does this, who comes for 1 week out of the month and goes home. I'm totally cool with it. I'd love to have you here if you want to come."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm busy. We can keep you busy." And I'm like, "Sweet. Yeah, no, that works out great." So, I'm going to be coming down in September. I'll be flying down on the 23rd, but I'll be working the 24th through the 29th of September. And, at Mad Monk Tattoo in, the Meadows, I think it's the Meadows Mall. Yeah.
Check them out. Drop them a like, drop them a follow.
Yeah. And if you want to book with me, hit me up and then I'll get you the phone number because you have to put down a deposit with the shop in order to get an appointment with me. So yeah. But,
take a look. You're gonna be thrilled. And Lucky's a pretty good guy. You should get to know him in person. Go check him out. Mad Monk Tattoo, end of September. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be exciting. And I can't wait to have you back down, man. Hopefully you get and stay busy when you're down here.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been reaching out to some people, letting them know I'll be in town. So
nice.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And this time you'll be there the whole time. So
I'll be there the whole time.
This shop also closes a little earlier, so I'll be able to actually hang out with you before 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, getting back at I don't know what it is, 11, 12 sometimes. It's kind of tough. So
yeah, for sure. But yeah.
Well, cool, man.
Outside of that, my week is going to be starting tomorrow. Work, and but outside of that, yeah.
Well, I hope you start feeling better too. You might feel better than you sound, but you do sound like you need some sleep. So.
I do, and my brain isn't really working. I kept skipping beats while we were talking, and I was supposed to say something, but nobody cares anyway.
I do that regularly, and I feel fine. So there you go. All right, well, friends, that's it for us this week. We will probably be back next week as per usual. Really appreciate those of you lurking and hanging out and watching, especially those saying hi, and all the repeat visitors. You know who you are. We love you. So that's it. Modern Relics for this week. Lucky I'm Angel. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.